At the end of the day, I choose you.
Hey, welcome to Adoption Now, telling your adoption story. I'm your host, April Fallon. We're super excited today because we are doing a new segment called Real Moms, Real Adoptions, where moms get together and we talk about our kids, our families, and the help that we've gotten for the success of our families and for each other. We need each other. We need community. So I want to welcome back on Jordan Moreno, and she is co-hosting with me for this segment. So thank you for being here.
Absolutely. I love it. I'm happy to be here.
And also our guest is Susan Cowdrey. Now, Susan and I have been friends a long time.
Yeah, we have.
I'm super excited for you to be on the show because we're also friends.
Yes.
Off camera. This is not fake.
No,
we
this
did
is
not
not
rehearse
fake.
this.
We did talk all the way here.
We did. And I'm like, we don't even need to do a show.
Yeah.
We're great. I think that the community of moms is so important. And as we get older, right, and our kids get older and new things come up, it's so important to have somebody that you can just laugh with or have an honest conversation. And what I love about you is you are right when you are so open, you're so honest, but also you have this great desire for solution, like I do, and like the show, this is what the show is all about, right? Is that, hey, we want to encourage each other. We don't want you to feel like it was just like a session of negativity and there's no answer. We're always like, okay, swing around to the answers. So you were on the show though in 2017. Let's talk about that.
Yes. I had to go back and listen to our show, and I think I told you, I was like, we were such babies.
Yeah. Even the way we were talking, we were like, oh, tell me more.
So idealistic, kind of naive, kind of this idea that like adoption is so wonderful and so beautiful, and it is. Mm-hmm. I truly still believe that it is, and that it's so worth it. And it's also really hard. Mm-hmm. And I could hear I just wanted to kind of laugh at myself and be like, oh honey, hold on for the ride. Like it's coming. You don't know yet, but like the crazy hasn't hit yet. And it's
because she was just a baby. I think you had just finalized. Yes. So she was like, did you listen to that?
I
episode?
did.
Yeah.
2017. And even you were different.
Yeah.
Like season 1 April was different than season 8 April.
And it's radio.
Yes.
So that was really weird too.
Yes.
It like broke into this weird commercial, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I forgot." I think Noah was doing the commercial,
and he's like, "This is April's husband."
It was really funny. I was like, "Oh, I forgot." But yeah, we were babies. We didn't know. We were still very idealistic and
happy, and I want that for people. You know, that's important to me. Like going back and listening to that, I'm like, "Oh, I miss that April." Like I think I had AJ and Lily only. Mm-hmm. But that's So they were like 7
they were little
and 4 or something.
Yes.
So we were just like doing life and enjoying adoption and had gone through these big stories like you, but also hadn't seen like any difficulties or any learning disabilities. Nothing had come to the surface yet.
No.
So we were still like
school.
Really hopeful that they had surpassed that. And I think a lot of people in the beginning stages just hope to surpass certain things. And like if they don't, they feel like somehow it's their fault.
Yes.
Like they didn't parent right, or that they had, seen this beautiful story and it was more challenging than they thought. And then they get disappointed and kind of shelter themselves. And that's what this segment is all about. Not sheltering yourself, not isolating, right? That's why we're doing Patreon, is because we want a community of people together that are Christians and that are asking questions, but also want real answers, not just like, hey, I'll pray for you.
Right.
You know, because I love that, but sometimes that's not enough.
Or bad
like
advice. Like I had a mom the other day that was like, somebody told her, if you just set consequences and then follow through.
That doesn't happen for any kid.
Right? And she was like, I'm going to lose my mind. Like, why did that make me so mad? And I'm like, it made you mad because what you wanted to say was, would you like to come and try
to my house, right?
In my home with this child? Because I'm pretty sure within a couple of days, you'd be like, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said anything to you about how you're going to parent, because it's different. What we're encountering on a daily basis is different.
Let's back the story up to 2017.
Yes.
And you guys can go back and listen to that. It's a great episode. Brian and Susan, it was January 5th, 2017 when we released it, but we had recorded in 2016.
Okay.
And you guys had gone through so much before you were even adopting. Like your husband had cancer.
Yep.
You gave birth to premature twins, so you were aware of medically fragile babies and what that took. And then you had another baby.
Yes.
Right before you're like, hey, we want to do this.
Now we should adopt.
Yeah.
No.
And it was so cute. Brian on the show, he was like, we just have room in our hearts in our home.
Uh-huh.
And so that's why we pursued it. I know, it's very sweet. And that's why a lot of Christians pursue it. It's like we have the means, we, have a home, we have this, and we're compelled to help the orphans. He said that, right?
Yes. And I think we thought we were ready, right? And we were for the stage that we were in.
Yeah.
And then life happens and you're like, oh, maybe we're not totally ready.
Right.
Maybe we don't know what we're doing.
No, you do. You're ready. You're ready because you're doing it.
We're doing it every day.
Okay, so one of the things I forgot about your story is that you didn't set out to just foster. You actually went through the Nightlight program that we've talked about before, where you can apply for foster to adopt. So you know that you're going to have placement forever.
Yes.
That's a big difference. And you paid to do it.
Yes.
A smaller fee, like $6,000 than like a traditional adoption. But there's still a fee. And I love that episode because if I was going to foster to adopt, that's how I would do it. I would call an agency, see if they have that program. I would pay the $6,000 because I want to know that we're going to termination, not back and forth with like maybe mom's going to. And I know that was still a piece in there, right?
It was.
You still had to do
still
visits.
up in the air.
Mm-hmm.
If you get a legal risk, but they'll tell you this is a legal risk placement or not, right?
Okay.
And so a legal risk placement is they're a ways away from termination, and this could be a while. And if you're getting an older child, a lot of times you can get a non-legal risk placement. But if you're wanting a baby, and we wanted a baby. You're going in with some legal risk of like there's a chance that at the end of this we're gonna fall in love.
But it's a little bit safer.
But it's safer in that what they're doing is they're kind of weeding out. They're looking at these parents and saying, we've done this for enough time to know that there are some warning signs sometimes of people that come into the system that we can kind of look at it and say, it looks like it's going to go this way. And if it is, let's make sure this child goes to one placement instead of
home to home.
And this is your fourth mom by the time you've got to, or you don't stick, right? Like when I think about Abby, I'm like, I don't know. Like she's a lot. I love her. Mm-hmm. She's a lot. And so there is this chance that she would have been a story of I bounced through foster care my whole life and nobody ever said yes to me. Right. And then I moved around because, at 2, she was like, I think toothpaste in the carpet would be so fun. Right. And like,
I mean,
it was not
okay, but
so
that's
fun for
another
me.
thing is that it's really hard because 2-year-olds do that, right?
Yes.
So there's other behavior that we're going to talk about where you're like, yeah, no, it's beyond the toothpaste.
Yes.
And I think that that's where you kind of have progressed. But before you were just like, she's going to be fine. She needs glasses and she's adorable. But she was born, remember?
The story.
And
she's
the picture.
So cute. She has glasses.
She's so cute.
She is so cute.
She is so cute.
Okay, so you got the call and she was premature, brain bleed. Tell us what they told you.
So they told us she was 27 weeks. She had gone 48 hours in utero with no amniotic fluid. I'm convinced that that's where we have like a water fixation. And nobody will say yes or no, but I'm like, she is fixated on water. And I think it's because of that. There's some trauma there. Yeah.
Interesting.
I'm convinced that's where it comes from. Anyway, doesn't really matter. But they said she had a grade 4 brain bleed, which is I'm learning now. At the time, I kind of was like, I know this is a thing. Now I know it's a really big thing. Mm-hmm. Now what we're calling it is a traumatic brain injury. So it's the same type of thing that you would get if a child actually was like in a car accident and had like a traumatic brain injury and it alters your life forever. That's the type of trauma that happened to her brain as a newborn. Mm-hmm. But I didn't realize that at the time. I would just say things like, oh yeah, she had a grade 4 brain bleed, like, oh, she had a cold yesterday. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know what I was saying. But they did, and so I think they thought we were insane. They're like, did you hear me? Like, she might not walk, she might not talk, she could be blind, she could be deaf. And I do remember talking to the OT in the hospital and saying, what does this mean? Like, what part of her brain bled? What does this mean?
Right.
And I had a really great OT say to me, here's the deal. the brain is really interesting. Like and this was 10 years ago. So the research now is crazy on things about the brain. But even 10 years ago, she said, take her home, treat her like a normal child, and you're going to hit a wall. And when you hit a wall, then figure out a way over it. Like, and so that, I think that was one of the best pieces of advice that I got, because I wanted her to look into the future and say, here are the challenges you are going to face. So I could like be prepared to like, handle all the challenges. And that was really good advice to say.
And you believed her.
I did. I believed her.
See,
I was like,
I
okay.
can put myself in that situation and go, I don't believe you.
Right.
You
Like,
don't know. You don't know how much I'm going to pray.
Right.
And you don't know how many people are going to be praying for this baby. And somebody could listen to this and say, April, like, that's like, what happened to you? Where's your faith? You know? And I used to be the type of person that I believed in everything could be a miracle. And I still believe that. But sometimes it takes work to get to your miracle. Sometimes there are tools that you need to get there instead of just like this instantaneous, the child's healed because she lived. And that's the goal that you had, is let's just get her to survive.
Right.
And that was a miracle in itself.
It was
right?
huge.
And so once you came past that, you were like, this is great.
I mean, we did it.
Lived. Yeah.
Well, and by the time we got to you, I mean, she learned to crawl, she learned to sit, she learned to walk with an oxygen tube, you know? So by the time we got to our podcast, I mean, she wasn't on oxygen anymore. We had adopted her. It was like, we have arrived, guys. We made it through this process. Like, we signed the adoption paperwork. She has our name. She's not on oxygen anymore. We are like, we were on the uphill of the roller coaster.
Let's talk about after the podcast.
In the last 8 years.
Yeah. Let's talk about moving past like 2 and into 4, because there's a moment that you had where somebody came to you and said,
yes.
Can we talk?
Can we? She was a busy child. Like, and I think in your mind, you're like, well, 2-year-olds are busy, right? Like 2-year-olds do things like squeeze out toothpaste. Only we were doing stuff like, by the time she would squeeze out toothpaste and rub it in the carpet, like the whole tube, right? And then rub it in the carpet. And I'm like, oh. So by the time I was like done cleaning this up, we had another mess that big in another spot. And I was literally going from one place to another all day long.
Was this sensory stuff, do you think? Was it on her body too?
It was sensory. Okay. Yeah. So there was a lot of, she's a sensory seeker. So it kind of started there with like, we're seeking dangerous thing, like we're climbing up to the top of stuff that's not realizing this is dangerous, where anything that was messy was real great. So we had some colossal messes that I was like, oh boy, this is, I don't even know what to do with this one right now. We played in the toilet once when someone hadn't flushed and then crawled through the house.
Oh no.
Crawled through the house with the oxygen tube. Like I just had poop everywhere. I was like, everyone freeze. Like, no one move, and I don't even know where to begin.
Well, the bigger question is who didn't flush?
Right.
Because there.
You don't even know. Like, getting kids to flush. What is that?
I don't know.
Can't anyone
Still
flush? Even my older kids. Why can't anyone flush a toilet? Why is this hard?
I don't know.
It's just one little handle. How fun to say goodbye to it. I try to make it like a story. I know. So much of what you describe her struggles with, what she struggles with, remind me of Lily. Like, it's very, very similar with like, we could not go to a public bathroom because the automated flushing.
Yes, or automated hand dryers that turn on by themselves.
Screaming. She was screaming. You were talking about Walmart, how she couldn't see. She didn't like the Walmart lights because they were reflecting.
She said, the floor lights. I don't like the floor lights. I'm like, there are no lights on the, what are you talking about? And it's the fluorescent light reflects off of the tile floor. So we're walking through Walmart and I'm like, we're getting bananas. We gotta get lunch food for tomorrow. And she's like
overstimulated and
so overstimulated that she's losing her mind, in Walmart. And people are looking at, and you're at the checkout and I'm like, I'm trying to check out. And I think they would assume like, oh, she's probably throwing a fit because she's not getting something she wants. She didn't want anything. She just wanted to be out of that building. She did not want to be there. And I didn't know. So I'm like, can we just, for heaven's sake, can we get the bananas?
Right.
Like, please.
Or you kind of wish they were crying over the sucker.
Right.
Because then you could actually hand the sucker and stop it. And I used to tell people that all the time. It's not even a thing. She's not even asking me for a thing. I don't know what's happening because I didn't understand, and I think you feel this way too. We didn't understand what was going on in their brains. That when they go into fight or flight, when something is triggered, there's no calming them down. Their brains chemically went there. And we're all like, trying to like talk reason, and other people are watching, and you're like, I'm trying to do this, and I do have consequences, but she's not even in a place where she could receive a consequence.
She's like,
we just need to leave.
I could die at any moment, and I need to get out of this environment. And so we had actually gone to a camp. She was about 4. We went to a camp. It was like a family camp with some people, and so it was a whole week long. And the people that we had gone with, they have a son who has autism, and pretty high on the spectrum of autism, and so there's a lot of need there. And I watched her, deal with kind of the autism and what she was doing with him, and Abby's, running around being Abby. And we got to the end of the week, and she pulled me aside and was like, "I do not know how you are parenting that child. I am so overwhelmed just watching you try to manage her." And I was like,
Did it upset you?
No, I think it was a little bit of like confirmation of something that I think I felt. But when it's the water you're swimming in, you're like, well, this is just her, right? This is just her. And she's adopted. So we have 3 biological kids, and then she's our only that's adopted. And so in my mind, I'm like, I don't know, maybe this is just how this goes. We're just doing it every day, And so when she said, she's like, Season, this is so much. You were running around like a chicken with your head cut off. And I'm like, I mean, I kind of felt that. But I kind of just thought this was like a normal thing that people are doing. Or maybe this is like normal 4-year-old and I kind of forgot. Or you don't want to compare kids. So I'd be like, well, I can't compare her to our other kids, And so I think it was a really eye-opening for her especially coming from a special needs mom.
Right.
It wasn't a mom of someone who's like
judging you.
No, she was
came
like,
from a
honey,
place of like, yes.
I do hard every day, and I don't know how you're surviving this. And so that was kind of the first step to be like, there's more going on here. So we went to pediatrician. She sent us to a place called Sensory Pathways for Kids. It's right here in Denver, and it's fantastic. And they diagnosed sensory processing disorder.
Okay. Was that the first
That was
diagnosis?
our first diagnosis. Okay. And so that was when we really learned. I learned the word elopement. I'm like, oh, that's why we go to church and she's in the parking lot. And people are like, whose child is this? And I'm like,
can you teach us elopement? Do you know what elopement is?
Do you know what elopement
No,
is? Elopement is when there's sensory overload and they run. So they're runners.
How is that connected to actually eloping?
It's the same term they use in.
But 2 of you are running together to get married.
To elope, maybe. I don't know why they use that word, but it's the same term they use in. Well, because I just got my CNA. We'll talk about that later.
Yes.
But in nursing homes for people who try to escape is their
I worked
elopers.
in a nursing home. I was a CNA. We never used that.
You didn't use
we
the word
said
elopers?
Escaper.
Okay, they're escapers. They're trying to get out. But yeah, so she would.
So she's running around the parking lot.
She's running. She'd be overwhelmed with. She's really high. She has a really big olfactory sense. So she smells stuff that no one else smells. Ever.
So interesting.
So we walk in somewhere and she'll be like, "What's that smell?"
If Noah was here, he would say, "I."
And I'm like,
too.
I don't know.
I think that I do too. Everything.
Yes. So I think stores like Walmart or Sam's are really hard because depending on what aisle you're in, products smell.
Right.
I don't. She'll be like, "What's that smell?" I'm like, I don't know. And then for a while, she would just smell people. We'd be in public and she'd be like,
she smelled the person?
Oh, and then
she's never smelled me.
So finally I said, we don't, let's not smell people without asking them. So then she'd say, "Can I smell you?" And I'm like, that's also weird. Please don't do that. She's like, "Can I smell that lady?" I'm like, no, let's not.
Okay, so some of the things that you're seeing sounds like anxiety, right? Overdevelopment, smell, maybe sensory, high, destructive, smearing things to just have that feeling. Lily would do that too. She'd smear whatever all over her face. And in preschool, they were like, "What a fun kid."
Yes.
And I would be like, is that fun? And then we're in kindergarten and she's taking scissors and cutting her clothes.
Yep.
And then it wasn't fun. Yeah. Then all of a sudden people were like, wait a second. So it was kind of it was a development for me as well, where I'm like, well, she just likes to be messy. Or, well, she just doesn't like to go grocery shopping because she'd rather be at the park.
Right.
That's why she's crying in the store. And one time, I told the story before, we were pushing a cart and she was whining and screaming. And I was thinking about this, maybe the lights hit her, maybe she just had enough, but she just beelined the other way down the aisle right towards this guy's cart and smacked right into him.
Yeah.
She's flat on her. She's like 4.5. He's like, oh my gosh, like
He
so
thought he
sorry.
hit her. Yeah. No, she ran right into you.
No, she ran into you. That was totally her fault. But like, it was so weird. We were in this aisle, and she's like, whoa, boom, on the ground, screaming, crying. This guy feels bad, and I did not recognize
what was going on.
Yeah, nothing. I couldn't tell what was
that
happening.
This child is having major need, and I'm not seeing it. I'm not realizing it. Well, and then what happened was we went to school. And I said to the teacher, meet the teacher today. I'm like, okay, so she's really hard. Like, I'm just going to tell you right now. And she was like, oh, it's fine. Like, I've done that. I've taught for 27 years. 16 of it was in special needs. I'm totally great. We're going to be so great. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, good luck. So I like drop her off at kindergarten. And 1 week, she was like, hi, could you stay after school maybe? And I'm like,
Told you.
We're going to talk.
and she said, does she have an IEP? And I said, no, but she needs one, doesn't she? I tried to tell you. And she's like, yeah. And then what we realized really quickly was in school is a lot of those sensory behaviors that she was seeking, like, I thought was like, oh, this is so fun, right? Like, this is so fun to play with this toothpaste, right? But really what it is I'm trying to control what's happening internally with something. So then when we were put in an environment where we were asked to sit at a desk and sit in a chair and there was nothing to do, all of that sensory that was happening inside of her turned into, she started picking.
Yes, we had that too.
So we were sending
And then
boxes
picking
of Band-Aids.
until infection.
Yes. She picked through her thumbnail, through the nail.
Oh my goodness.
Like, you know how bad that hurts when you like have a hangnail?
Oh, but here's another thing too. If some of the brain has been affected by chemicals in utero, brain bleed, traumatic things, they have a very, very high pain tolerance.
Yes.
So Lily could be in serious pain with a broken arm. You wouldn't know until the arm is dangling.
Yep.
And then and then she's like, yeah, but she would do something else. She'd hit her head over and over. She would spray potpourri all over her hair, or she would do something. Yes,
scratch our face.
And so you're trying to figure out, and they're so heightened that you're like, oh my gosh. And then, but really you get down to it and it's like, you have strep throat.
Yep.
You are in pain in your throat. It's guessing because also the words don't come.
Yes.
Really fast.
And they don't realize sometimes the things, like Abby she still will do this. She will go outside in the snow in her bare feet and then come in and be baffled as to why her feet are cold and they hurt. And I'm like, we've talked about this a lot, which goes into her next diagnosis, but we've talked about this a lot. When you go out in the snow in your bare feet, your feet are going to be really cold and they're going to hurt when you come back in because they're really cold. But it does not connect. It does not connect in her brain to I've done this before, and maybe if I do it again, the same thing's going to happen. Mm-hmm. It's going to happen.
Now, Abby is adorable, and she looks perfect.
She does.
Like Lily. Mm-hmm. So when you're taking her, when you're going into doctor appointments, are they she looks fine? She looks great.
Luckily, we have an amazing pediatrician.
Oh, good.
So
Who has followed you through?
She's followed us through. She started with us, and she's pretty much, I think she thinks we're some sort of hero miracle workers that we adopted this child and took this all on. And so she's like, you're like angels, and I'm like, I don't know.
But if it gets you to help us, then yes.
Yeah, but she's been a big advocate, and she's seen her whole medical record, right?
Okay.
So she's seen from the beginning that she's like, this child's doing miraculous things. And
for
also,
what we thought, and then also,
but also we got some challenges here that need to be addressed. So I think the harder part with her looking great is when we go places and it's not obvious, right? It's obvious when you walk in somewhere and your child has Down syndrome. It's not obvious when we walk in, right? Or they're in a wheelchair, or and I think even autism. Sometimes I think there's so much cultural awareness and understanding of autism that I think even sometimes when you see kids that are a little off, you're like, maybe they're a little bit on the spectrum. You kind of give them some more grace than you normally would with other kids, but FASD, which is where we got to finally with our diagnosis, which is fetal alcohol spectrum disorder, because we had fetal alcohol exposure and drug exposure.
And you knew this? Or you dug it up? Or what?
I dug it up.
Okay.
All right, I fought really hard because, so I'll back up. So sensory processing, we did like years of therapy. We're like, we're going to go. Every week we're at OT. And it was really helpful. They gave us strategies. They gave us some things to work on. They gave us some things to do. We had in-home therapy. We had out-of-home therapy. We had all kinds of stuff. And then we got to kindergarten, and I was like, this is not it, guys. Like, there's something bigger going on here. And I think that's when we kind of started talking a little bit more. It was a little bit later. And I was like, this looks like ADHD. I'm doing research, right? I'm like, I'm Googling, like you said, like, what do I Google? Like screaming, like
right.
hitting our head against the wall. Like, what do I Google? So I'm like Googling, I'm trying to figure this out for myself. But ADHD, there's like a checklist for ADHD.
Yes.
I read them out loud. I read all those symptoms out loud to our family, and all of our kids were like, yeah, that's what she's got. She had every single symptom on the list.
And that's ADHD.
ADHD.
See, that was hard for me because Lily's ADD. So a lot of the testing is for ADHD, and she wasn't hyperactive unless you gave her some dirt. Yeah. And then she was super hyperactive because it's all over her face. But she didn't act that way. She was just almost the other way in paralysis, right? Where she's just doing nothing, can't remember anything. And so that was a really hard...
Yeah, to pick that letter out.
Journey, yes.
Is a big
and
deal.
Be like, I don't think...
That one letter makes a big difference.
I don't think this is what it is. Yeah.
And with behavior. And so, yeah, you have to I feel like you have to just be a detective. You have to try to figure it out and be like, but this was, she's like barely 5. So at the time they were like, we won't medicate children until they're 6.
Is that true? Still?
6. They will not medicate for ADHD before the age of 6. I think partly because it's you're moving into a school environment where you can quantify things in a little bit better of a way of like, hey, this was happening. We put some medication on board, and look, we can see like some tangible things.
Was she sleeping at night?
She's always been a pretty good sleeper.
Okay.
Ish. She's not like, we're not like having to lock her in a room yet.
She's kidding. She's totally kidding.
I'm kidding. It's just funny. Like, you're like, oh, what are the things we have to do? So, but she was sleeping pretty okay. But so then when she turned 6, like the day she turned 6, I'm like, hi, we're here. She's 6. Can we do some medication? Can we try?
Okay, so she gets diagnosed with ADHD and sensory
processing.
Okay, and you still thought
started getting medication on board.
Okay,
that's a journey. You've kind of had that too, where there were some medications that it took me a little while to be like, we had some pretty big behavior with a wrong medication.
Yeah.
Right? So wrong medication, and then all of a sudden the behavior's ramping up and we're getting more aggressive. We have some holes in our drywall to prove it that are real fantastic, like, snow boot sized holes in the wall.
At 5? At 6?
At 7 maybe.
Okay.
We were trying to figure out medication. Yeah. So this is years of like, because medication, they put them on it and they're like, we want to try it for 6 months. And 6 weeks in, you're like, they're losing their mind. Like,
I think, though, I tell people, you're going to see it if it's working or not real fast.
Right away.
Yeah,
yes.
Because it affects the brain almost immediately. So if they're like aggressive, then you don't do a stimulant.
Don't do it.
And that's an Adderall side, right?
Yep, and that's what we started. Okay. We were on Adderall. And so, there's the Ritalin side and the Adderall side. And the Adderall was not a good fit.
Yes.
But it took us a little while to figure that out and be like, this isn't working. This is making this worse.
How are your other kids doing?
That was my question.
Yeah.
What's the family dynamic look like
It's
during
interesting. That? It's interesting. So we have twins that are they're 7 years older than her, and then Micah's 3 years older than her. So on any given day, the nice thing about having multiple children is that you're like, on any given day, if you don't like someone, there's probably someone else
to partner with.
She does really good she will go to specific people in our house for specific things.
Oh, okay.
And ask for specific people, knowing what they will give her. And so she knows how to get her needs met real well. So she'll be like, I just need Ashton, and I'm like, okay. She'll also ask for the dog. We have 3 dogs, and one of them is like her. Yeah, he knows. He'll show up. She'll be crying, and he'll show up, and he makes it better when nobody else can. So she's good at getting her needs met in certain ways, and they're pretty good about being patient and understanding. And
okay, so they weren't like bitter, because sometimes we hear stories where they're just like really upset because a lot of attention is going to you trying to figure this out. But in the meantime, your son was diagnosed.
Oh, yeah. He got Legg-Calvé-Perthes disease, which is
how we reconnected.
We did. That's how we reconnected over the Legg-Calvé-Perthes.
Because I met a little girl that was friends with AJ, and she had it. And this was like a rare thing. And you posted like almost the same week.
Okay, that he had got diagnosed.
What? And it's super rare. It's like the hip.
Yeah, you're going to have to tell me what that is,
So
too.
it's like a rare childhood bone disease where the head of the femur, so like the ball part of your ball joint, disintegrates and falls apart. So there's no ball at the head of your femur. So then like the bone can come out of the socket. So he had like 2 major surgeries. One, he was in a full body cast from his armpits to his toes.
Poor guy.
That was super fun. We learned how to use a wheelchair. Like, I keep telling people, I'm like, I think by the time I'm done raising my kids, I'm going to be about halfway through nursing school.
Yeah.
Like, I think I
should
could
be a
just,
doctor.
I could. I'm like, I know how to do IVs. I know how to change a bed with someone in it. I didn't know you could do that, but I learned.
There you go.
Yeah, things like that. So
If I'm sick, I'm going to call her.
Right. You're the one. Physical needs, emotional needs.
in the middle.
Yeah.
I'm like,
You're in this forever season. You have to be my friend forever. Even if I get sick, you have to take care of me.
I'll be like, I'll be on over. It's fine. I can change the bed with you in it.
Thank you. Okay, so all these things are going on. You're like doing investigative work. You figure out that she has had alcohol exposure.
So I started looking into FASD because I
Okay.
was like, we did have drug exposure. We knew there was drug exposure.
Okay.
And that just didn't seem to just explain the symptoms. We got I had taken her one place to get testing, and we got an autism diagnosis.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, you've met her.
Yeah.
She does not have autism, right? And I was like, so I would say that to parents. If you get a diagnosis that you're like, really?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't trust your gut. Because I was like, there is no way this child has autism. Like, I'm not an expert on anything. I'm not a doctor. This child does not have autism, but there's something bigger going on. Mm-hmm. And so we just kept looking. We had got on the wait list there is a program through Children's Hospital where they will do like full neurological testing, full behavioral testing. I can't remember what the program's called. You can look it up. But it was like a 3-year wait list.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yep. And I was like, that's not helping us today. So what are we going to do? So the nice part is because she's foster, she is on Medicaid. And so we found a place. And actually, weirdly enough, we connected because you had the lady from Insights Colorado
Right.
on your show.
Yes, Dr. Claire.
Dr. Claire. And
You have to listen to that episode. If you haven't heard that episode, Dr. Claire is talking about her adoption and surrogacy. It's called Destined for Motherhood, Adoption and Surrogacy. But she went through this, and then she's a psychologist, and she diagnoses many things. But the topic that we talked about was being exposed to alcohol in utero and how damaging that can be. And it's not just adopted kids.
No. Mm-hmm. It is way more common than you would think. Mm-hmm. It's like, I think I told you, I found a statistic that said 1 in 20 they did a panel of second graders. 1 in 20 second graders has FASD, which means like 1 child in every classroom across America.
That's crazy. And I bet
dealing
it's
with
more
this, and they don't know
in kindergarten because
Yes,
of
you said
2020, everybody started drinking more. I think I don't remember the exact stats, but like alcohol sales went up, right? And if you're drinking and you're pregnant, you don't know, your child can get FAS. Is it FASD?
There's a
different-
whole
Okay.
I don't know that you need to add the D, just disorder on the end of it, but FAS.
So they can have this, and she was saying even like with 1 glass of wine, which is like terrifying. So if you don't know in that first trimester that you're pregnant and you're just like living your life and then you find out and then you're seeing these symptoms, you might want to get your child checked out because this diagnosis can change everything. I need you to just kind of lay out, because I know if a doctor was confused and said it was autism, then there's a lot of confusion around what this looks like. So tell us what separates it from autism or ADHD.
Okay, so I think autism and ADHD go really close together sometimes also, but there are some things that set autism apart, which are mostly the social things, right? And so ADHD and FASD look very similar as well. I think the thing that is the biggest changes, because we still have a hard time paying attention to things. We have a hard time staying focused on what we're doing. We have a hard time remembering what you told me to do. But memory is a big piece for kids with FASD. So, like at 3, I look at my other kids and how you do, or, even less than that, 2, when you say, what sound does a dog make? What sound does a cat make? What sound does a duck make? We were still working on that in OT at 6.
Okay. So she can't remember.
Can't remember what the duck says.
Okay.
It's
Still?
like Groundhog's Day. We got those. We finally got them. But it's like the repetitions, right? Like however many repetitions a normal child needs to be able to remember something. Hers is like times 100, right? So to remember something and have it stick, the concept, anything that is a abstract concept. So time is really, really hard. So we're almost 10 and we're still doing she'll be like, what day are we going to, the park? And I'm like, Thursday. And she's like, what day is today? And I'm like, Monday. And she's like, okay. And I'm like, how many days is that? I'm like, how many days is that? And she'll say, okay, well, Sunday. And she always has to start on Sunday. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Wait, what day are we going to the park? Thursday. Okay, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Wait, what day is today? It's Monday. Sunday. Okay, stop. We're not going to start on Sunday. Let's start on today is Monday. So let's
Season, maybe you could
Monday.
just tell her how many days it is.
So I'm like,
though, that takes a ton of patience.
Amazing.
Day in and day
She's
out.
amazing.
So, and it's every time we have anything. So I finally realized we need visual. She does great with visual. You give her something visual. This child can play chess. Like I gave her a chessboard and we taught her what the pieces do and she can play chess. And she's actually pretty good at it.
Because she follows things?
Because
or do you think it's getting in there?
all the chess pieces look different. She
Okay.
can't play checkers to save her life because they all look the same. But chess, all the pieces look different and all the pieces do a different thing. And it's visual.
Okay.
So as long as she can
she's
see
memorizing what they can do.
because it's visual.
Okay.
So because she's got a visual, it's
it.
like I can attach onto that and do it. So math sometimes is really great. She can do math like no big deal until it becomes a abstract concept. So like I can do it when I can say 4 + 2 and I can see that. I can't do it when we talk about like what is a fraction. Because a 1/2
I can't do a fraction right
means what, right? And so it becomes trickier if it's an abstract concept.
Okay. I see what you're saying.
What
Things
about-
you have to have in your mind.
Like rules, because that's abstract, but I'm thinking home rules in the home, and when we do this, when we do that. Is that something that's also too abstract?
Yep.
And that you're
So
constantly
we're
repeating?
constantly reminding. Remember, we don't do this. Remember, we do this. Anything that's a schedule that we have to keep in our brains. We have lots of visual stuff all over our house. But following multi-step directions, right? We're 10. And we can follow about 2-step directions before we forget what those two directions were, what we're supposed to be doing. So in the morning, I just feel like a parrot. I'm like, okay, what do we do to get ready? We get dressed, we brush hair, we brush teeth. And I probably say that 100 times a morning. Like, where are you at? Did you get dressed? Nope, we didn't get dressed yet. Okay, we'll start there. And then what's after that? Get dressed, brush hair, brush teeth. Did you get the hairbrush? Where is the hairbrush? We have no idea.
Oh my
where
gosh,
the
you're so
hairbrush is.
patient.
Let's find the hairbrush, right? It's just like, it feels like Groundhog's Day. And
Yeah.
so it's a little different. I think ADHD, you've got a kid that you may be like, hey, I need you to get dressed. And they went to get dressed and then they kind of forgot about what they're doing.
Yes.
And
Let me
they're
tell you the
diddling
difference.
around.
Let me tell you the difference. They will forget what they don't want to do, right? So you're saying it over and over. But if they don't have FAS and that's ADHD, they will remember their sibling is grounded and you grounded them and now they're playing their iPad and they're grounded for 2 days. Oh, the memory's there. Oh, there's memory for the things that you care about.
Yes.
But it's repeating everything that they don't really want to brush their teeth. They don't really want to do these things.
Yes.
So that's more just like resilience to, and it's not like they're being bad necessarily. It's not like they're purposely doing that. They're just distracted. They're not focused. Where it's not like the memory problem where they're not able to get this. Like they're not really understanding from a day to day. They really did forget. That's kind of what I'm hearing you say.
And when she was little, it was things like I would, when they're little and you're trying to teach them things, like she would she loved to pour water. So she'd get a cup of water and then pour it on the floor. And I'd say, oh, we're not going to pour the water on the floor. And then she would do it again. And I would be like, okay, we're going to sit in timeout now. And then she would come out of timeout and do it again. And I'd be like, okay, you're going to go back to timeout now. And after 6 timeouts, she'd get out of timeout and go fill a cup with water and pour it on the floor. And I'm like, what is happening with this child? Like, you've just sat in timeout 4 times in a row for the same thing. Why are you not getting it? Like, are you just stubborn? Are you know? And so I think realizing kids with FASD, their processing time is really slow. It's like the wheel on the computer is thinking. And I realized I talked way too fast for my daughter. So I've given her 8 directions, and she's still on the first one, right? And so realizing, I think I told you, I finally realized how bad this was when I was like, maybe if I can help her with an audiobook, because we're struggling with books because they require memory. So if you read chapter 1 and then you set it down, and then tomorrow you want to read chapter 2, you have to remember what happened in chapter 1. And we don't remember what happened in chapter 1. So we've just read chapter 1 over and over again. And I'm like, oh, okay, we've got to move on. I've read chapter 1 of this book way too many times. So I was like, ooh, audiobooks. Like, I could turn it on an audiobook. She can listen to it and she can follow along. And I turned it on, and she was like, it's too fast. I can't understand it. It's too fast. And so I was like, I turned it down a little and she listens to audiobooks on 0.75 speed. If you've ever tried that.
I have not. Is it very slow?
It's like nails on a chalkboard. Like, I can't. I'm like, I'm going to lose my ever-living mind. This is so slow. It feels, and she loves it. She's like, this is so great. And I realized, oh my word, how many times does this child not follow a direction? Not because she can't understand, not because she doesn't know what I'm saying, but because I said it too fast, and her brain cannot
process it.
Yeah. She missed it.
Does ADHD medication help her?
Yes.
Okay.
So I think what it does, this is her description of ADHD medicine, which I loved. I did love that, and that's probably why they want to wait to medicate kids until they're a little older too, because then they can give you. So I was a little worried about medicating. I was like, I'm never going to medicate my kids. Yeah. I started out there.
Right.
I'm not there anymore.
Okay.
So I said she had been on it for, I don't know, a month or so. And I said, what do you think? Like, how do you feel when she's on it? And she said, Mom, it's like, I think about something and then like my brain just slows down. And then I can think about it and I can think, that is not a good idea. And then I just don't do it. And I'm
impulse control.
Okay, impulse control, right? Yes, it allows me to slow my brain down enough to think.
Okay.
I don't know that it helps
the learning part.
the learning.
Okay. I have a million questions, but we're running out of time.
Yes.
I do want you to, I love being friends with you because, like I said, there can be this place where you don't want like to complain about your kids or even like your husband or your family, and you're like, I don't want to be that person that calls up a friend and is like, I gotta tell you, and then the friend's like, oh yeah, my husband too, or my kids too. You don't want to do that. So then we tend to just say nothing, and we're like, everything is great, everything's good, and then you're like dying inside. Yes. And so we're trying to create this community of moms where, and I love the way you put it, you and I talked about this, it's like you're really open and honest, but you know that you love my family. I know you love my family. You know I love your family.
Yeah.
And you're going to point me back to God or to solutions or prayer, or like you're going to stabilize like the thought process, right? So I don't drive off a cliff. And then you're also there to just listen. And sometimes you just have somebody go, oh my gosh, I know, I cleaned up the toothpaste too.
Yeah.
Or we had a lot of crying this morning too. You just feel like you're not drowning alone. And so that's the kind of relationship that we have. We talk all the time. We do Marco Polo. And so we can listen to them like when, if we can't talk.
Yes.
Right? So we tell each other all these stories and like, oh, what did you do? And how do you get help? And that community is just so, so important. And I love that you said something the other day about lying. Yes. And I have one that instantly lies. And I'm like, think about it. I need you to slow down. I need you to think about your answer. I know what happened.
You already know the answer.
You drew all over my car.
Mom knows the answer.
I know what you did. And it's like this panic. And I'm trying to get her to not panic. I'm talking to her on a surface level, right? Of like, we don't panic. We just say the truth. But you were like, listen, the brain triggered fear. And so instantly she's like, I'm going to be in trouble. So I have to do this. And then you explained it to your daughter of how it gets worse and worse and worse. And I love this. Why don't you tell us what you told her?
Yes. So we had a little incident at school. I arrived at school with for pickup time, and there was a little girl being like, she's got my candy. I was like, I don't have her candy. I was like, oh, she probably has your candy. She had her hand in her pocket, and I was like, what's in your pocket? And she's like, nothing. And I'm like, yeah, there is something in your pocket. Well, it was the wrapper to the candy.
Busted.
So the candy was in the tummy already?
And she was like, I didn't eat it. She was like insisting that she didn't eat it. Well, come to find out, the whole story was, it was like an Airhead. So, they're really sour. So she had opened it and put it in her mouth, and then it was too sour, so she spit it out. So I'm like, technically, she wasn't lying. She didn't actually eat it. Show, however, wasn't your candy, and you did have the wrapper. So let's have a conversation about this. And I said to her, I was like, I think sometimes what happens, right? So she knows the difference between, ADHD kids have a really hard time with executive functioning. So that's the front part of our brain. And so I always tell her that. I'm like, this part of our brain is the part that can think and make decisions and decide what we're going to say. And then there's this part on the back of our brain, right, that is our fight or flight. Like, we're freaking out. And the fight or flight part of our brain says, there's a lion in the room and he's trying to eat you, right? And so when I say, did you take the candy? And this part of your brain just switches on like a light switch and says, you better lie or you're going to get in trouble, right? And so I'm going to instantaneously lie. Sometimes about stuff that's not even, I'm like, you wouldn't even get in trouble, but she'll just lie instantaneously.
Right.
No.
Did you use that lotion? No. I'm like, what? I brought you the lotion to use. You're allowed to use the lotion. Why are we lying about lotion?
Why are we lying about it? Actually, I wanted you to put it on your body.
Yeah,
like, why
I would have been happy.
But it literally is. It's like this part of our brain, right? And so I told her, I was like, okay, I need you to stop, because she's just talking. Well, she just and I'm like, okay,
it's getting worse. It's getting worse. Yeah.
Pause. So I was like, this part of your brain is telling you to lie to me. So I need you to calm down and I need you to think for a second, because before I'm going to let you think about this for a while, and then when I come back to you, I'm going to ask you a question, and I want what comes out of your mouth to be the truth. Because when we lie, I told her, I was like, when we do something wrong, everybody makes mistakes, and we can do stuff that's wrong. And it's kind of like we dug a hole and we're in a hole, and we're like, crud, I kind of got myself in a hole. Like, I took the candy, shouldn't have taken the candy.
Mom's asking
me, teacher's asking me, she's mad at me. Like, I'm in a hole, right? And when you lie, the hole gets deeper. And then when you lie again, the hole gets deeper. And pretty soon you're in a hole that you can't get yourself out of, right? And I'm like, if you're in a hole that you can't get yourself out of, how do you get out of it? And she's like, well, I mean, somebody's going to have to help me. And I'm like, yeah. Only here's the problem, right? If you have made mistakes and you've got yourself into a hole, I can throw you a rope. But when you lie to me, then the rope gets cut, because you broke my trust. I can't trust you. And so there's no help out of there, because you've lied so many times that there's no rope for me to help pull you out. So if you make a mistake and you say to me, Mom, I made a mistake, I shouldn't have done this, then I have a rope to help pull you out of the hole that you made, right? But the more you lie, the deeper the hole gets, and then there's no help. And then you're stuck. And she's like, yeah, I'm kind of stuck. I'm like, okay, so
what's the truth here? And then did she tell you?
She did. She did. We were on our way to like a therapy thing. So I said, I want you to think about it the whole way there.
Oh, she's so patient. You were so
The
patient.
whole way there. And she was like, she kept trying to open her mouth. I'm like, nope, we're not there yet. Also, I'm ready to lose my mind, so I'm trying to calm down in the front seat. I'm like,
you're like, how much am I going to dig myself into the hole?
I'm trying to picture myself in your position, and I'm just sweating.
Yes.
Like, I'm so mad. So we got there, and she said, well, she I think what happened was she like offered her the candy, then she wanted her to trade, and she didn't have anything to trade, so she just stuck it in her mouth, and then it was like, well, now it's done, and now we're just gonna lie. And so I said, I'm like, if you had said to Lily, like, I did take your candy, I'm so sorry, can I just bring you one tomorrow? Probably would have been better, right?
Yeah.
Like,
or I thought she gave this to me. But see, the thing is that once they're in flight or fight, they can't respond or think or talk. The words disappear, and they just can't explain even if they're not wrong.
Yes.
Right? They just get blamed for things a lot because of that.
Yes.
And so then they get in the habit of just lying because everybody's looking at me. I just had like a God moment when you were talking.
Oh.
I like see that as a book. Like, you should do that as a book. If you just do it for me.
Okay.
And so I can put pictures up so that, because visual is so important.
that
I think
visual.
that's why she connected to that. And I could see that my daughter will connect to that as well and be like, I'm like, where are you here in this?
Yes, I can see myself at the bottom of the hole.
Are we about to cut the rope? Like, I don't want to get here. So what are we doing? And if she could visually see what she's doing to our relationship and what's happening, I think maybe she would understand that and just try harder. Because I really believe in who she is she doesn't really want to lie.
No.
She just doesn't want to be in trouble so bad.
They don't want to be in
she's
trouble.
just panicked. Yeah.
Which I actually had heard this advice a while ago with kids that have ADHD, FASD, some of these, that actually the more that they get in trouble for lying, weirdly enough, the more they lie, right? Because they're afraid of getting in trouble, right? And so I said to her, actually, that's one of the things I said to her. I was like, I'm going to let you think about this, and I'm going to give you one more chance. And if what comes out of your mouth is the truth, then we'll be okay, and you're not going to get in any trouble for what just happened, which is really hard.
It
to be
is
like,
really
I'm
hard
not
to
giving
do.
you any consequence for this big thing.
I know, because you have to pray about which is worse.
Yes.
Right? What am I trying to correct here? The stealing of the candy
one at a time.
Or the lying. Yes. But it was really funny to see. I could see her be like, oh my gosh, I didn't get in trouble. Right? And that's not going to be the case every single time.
Right.
I'm never going to let you just get away with. But I think what I needed her to learn in that moment, right, was that lying is going to get you in more trouble. Telling the truth means we'll just deal with that one little thing that happened instead of this one little thing happened and now we're like 87 lies into this, and I'm like, I'm gonna end you, child.
Right.
Like, I don't know.
I think that's super helpful. I think it's really, there's a lot of information for us now as parents to kind of understand the brain. There wasn't that much for us growing up, or even when we started this journey, right? And we didn't understand the damage of anything in utero or lack of things in utero, right? They didn't have pre-med, they didn't have anything, and that affects a child. Everything affects a child, right? And so now seeing the symptoms and being okay with that and accepting the diagnosis or accepting the journey is hard. And I had 2 moms yesterday reach out to me, and both children were in trouble at school, and principal was calling, and they just wanted, what we do is just to talk about, hey, like, what do I do? And like, they're crying.
Yeah.
And just saying, I just need to accept the journey. You know, I just need to go up to the school. I just need to do the IEP meetings. I just need to give her the medicine. I just need to accept this diagnosis and this journey. That can be half of the struggle.
Well,
right?
and I think I told you, it took me a really long time to say, I think we stepped so willingly into the adoption community, right? And it took me a while to say, we also belong in the special needs community. Right? We may not be in a wheelchair. We may not have Down syndrome. We may not have, seizures or bigger, but we are smack dab in the special needs community, and saying we are a special needs family, introducing ourselves that way, helping her to understand that she has special needs and that she can talk about that, and she can tell people about that. She tells people the bleed in my brain is just, it's making things really hard today. My brain bled and it doesn't work very good. And then she goes to special needs. We have a special needs room in our church, which is amazing. So she gets to go in that room instead of going into the main room. And she is real open about it. So she'll just be like, so what do you have? What's going on with you? And I'm like, maybe that's not the way we say that to other people. Like, one of the moms was like, yeah, she just walked right up and was like, so what do you got? What special needs do you have? And
I'm going to need to know.
Like,
I think that's sweet.
I need to know what you got, right? But we're normalizing that like, this is part of your journey. And unfortunately, one day part of that conversation is, this is part of your journey because of your birth mom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a whole other show.
Whew, that's another show.
Yes. And it's one thing to go down that road. It's another thing to go down the FAS road when you were the one who was drinking, right? And you didn't know, and now your child has been affected. And when I had Dr. Claire on, she talked a little bit about that and just how like moving past that shame to get your child help. But I think there's some level of that as an adoptive mom too, right? Is like we want the child, we got the child to survive and we want them to thrive. And when we start seeing things and teachers start seeing things, we're like, what could we have done this? Should we have put her in OT? Did we deny things too long? That's a bad road. Don't go down that road.
Nope.
Just start right here, and we're here for you. We want you to join Patreon. We want you to be a part of our community, and we want to be there for you because we're not judgmental because we're in it.
Yep.
We're swimming in the same water.
Yes.
And we've all tried different things, and then when something works, we can celebrate that. And I love what you have done next. We don't have very much time, but
that's all right. I'll go through it
fast. You found out that, first of all, you did all the digging, and you found out that she did have some exposure to alcohol. You were able to bring that to the doctor, get the diagnosis, and you went a step further and said, what does the state do for children like this? And now this is amazing, and I hope every family, I know every state doesn't offer this, but if your state does, like, I'm so happy for you.
I'm so excited.
And I'm so proud of you because this is a big thing you had to do.
Yes.
Okay.
So somebody told us, they're like, do you have a waiver? I'm like, it's a waiver. I mean, I don't, it was kind of like the elopement. Like, what does that mean? I don't know. Should we have that? So there's something called a CES waiver in Colorado. It's probably called different things in different states. It's called a Child Extended Services waiver. A lot of people think they don't qualify for it because they're like, well, I make too much money. Because your child does have to go on Medicaid. Luckily for Abby, she's already on Medicaid. So it was like, well, we already have that on board. And so you go through, like here in Colorado, Child Find is what we have for younger children, or at least in Douglas County, Child Find, and it assesses kids for developmental disabilities, intellectual disabilities, and special needs. And so then it's called developmental pathways once they get to elementary age. Developmental pathways leads. And so we contacted them. You have to... It's a process. We started in May of last year, and I am just going to get my first paycheck next week. So it's a long process. It's a lot of questionnaires, a lot of you get basically a social worker. It's a lot like being in the foster system. We have a social worker, but it talks about activities of daily living. Can your child do things at an age appropriate level? So can they dress themselves? Can they bathe themselves? Can they wash their hair? Can they brush their teeth? And all of those things for Abby are yes and no, right? On her own, no. None of that's going to happen. I can't give her a plate of food and say, okay, have breakfast. I'm going to go get ready. I'll be right back. She won't eat anything. I have to sit next to her and be like, take another bite. Okay, take another bite. Okay, nope, we're not getting up from the table.
Would she just eventually get hungry, though?
Yeah, and then she's like, scrounging around in the pantry like a squirrel. Or just candy and and sometimes she's also our fourth, so like your bar of parenting lowers. So I'm like, sure, have another cookie. Like that's some calories, right? Like that's great. Just have another one. But
so the state is paying you to take care of your child.
Yes.
And you had to become a CNA.
Well, so CES
okay.
and CNA are two different things. So CES is a Child Extended Services Waiver. Medicaid will pay you to
okay.
So there's different things in it, and depending on how much need your child has is what you qualify for. But what I qualified for is it's called Homemaker Basic, which is I get paid for the things that we're doing at home to take care of her, the messes she makes, the things she does, helping her dress, and all the things.
The new toothpaste bottles that you need.
Yep.
Okay.
All that stuff. And then there's something called Community Connector, which is 10 hours a week that I get paid for to take her into the community and help her learn sort of activities of daily living in the community.
Which you were saying you avoided doing, right?
I was like, really, am I going to get paid to take her to the library? Like, that feels kind of dumb. Like, am I taking advantage of the system? But what I realized was once we started looking at this, there's been a long time where we haven't taken her. Like, we don't take her to do things because it's harder. So if I got to go grocery shopping, I don't take her. I figure out a way for her to be home with dad or home with her siblings so that I can go grocery shopping without her because it's too hard. And that's not helping her.
Yeah.
That's not helping her in the long run. And it's not helping these kids that, like, one day they're going to have to do these things on their own, or they're going to have to do it with assistance. And if I've avoided taking her to Walmart for 10 years because the lights on the floor bother her, and then she has to do it by herself, she's going to be a wreck. And so what they're saying is, like, I'll pay you to go take her into the community and teach these skills to her so that she's a good functioning member of society, right? And so, yeah, we get paid. I think community caregiver in Colorado is like $36 an hour, so that's 10 hours a week times 36, and homemaker basic is $28 an hour at 10 hours a week. And then Abby, because of her diagnosis, somebody said, well, did you get your CNA? I'm like, well, what is that? Well, CNA is a certified nursing assistant. It's for kids or people with developmental disabilities and intellectual disabilities that have special medical need. And I was like, well, she's not on oxygen anymore. Had I known, right? Again, you can't go back, but I could have got paid 24 hours a day when she was on oxygen.
Wow.
But I didn't know. Somebody had mentioned it to me, and I thought that meant I needed to go get my nursing license. And I'm like, I got 3 kids and a brand new baby on oxygen. When am I going to go to nursing school? And that's not really what it is. It's been a 1-month program. You do have to learn some things. I had to do a practicum. It's about 75 hours is what it is. I had to do a practicum. I had to spend a couple hours in a nursing home helping some old people. That was really fun. You learn some things that I'm like, I didn't know how to do this, but now I know.
Is that when you got the sheet change thing?
Yeah,
Sheet
is that how you know how to do that?
I actually
use
learned
a belt.
that in the hospital. The gait
Oh,
belt.
the gait
belt
belt.
was like, you can, it's like a belt you put around people to help them stand when they can't. And I'm like, that would have been so helpful when
your
he was
back.
in his cast,
Yes.
his full body
right.
cast.
See, all these things
Nobody
work together.
told me.
Here's the crazy thing is that, like, you can just hear your story and see God's plan, right? Is that you have been in this for so long. Like, it's natural to you to be a nurse, whether you have your certification or not. It's natural for you to take care of people and be in a medically fragile situation, right? And I know even right now, like, you're going through it with Brian, like, has,
relapse.
relapsed, and he'll be going through treatment. And so you're just like designed to do it, and you're just doing it really, really well. And I think that some people might hear this and be like, well, she's like clearly like should be doing this. But like all of us have been designed to do this because that's the child that God has given us. And we can all find out what those programs are by the next step, right? And like maybe you just stumbled upon this video and you're like, oh my gosh, this is what I need to hear. And I don't know what to do, but let me Google that. And you just go to the next step, which is what we always say here. God will lead you. I feel so strongly that there's no way that he gave you a child so that you could lose your mind. And it's easy for us to talk about it right now and to help, hers is so little. She's so cute and so little.
I'm still in that phase of this is just normal toddler behavior.
Wait 9 years when you're on the show and you're
right. Just keep,
I don't know what
but
year it'll be, but
what's nice about it is find those people in your life that are a little bit ahead of you in their adoption journey, that are in the world of special needs, that even if the answer is no, like even if it's like, no, your kid doesn't qualify, go see, because you can get paid to take care of your child. You can, and for some people it's like, well, that's kind of nice, that's extra. And for some people it's like, I cannot go back to work.
Right.
And have someone else take care of Abby.
Right.
And we're going to get to a point where she's like 17 and I still can't go back to work. Right. And then it becomes, I think when they're little, people are like, well, that makes sense. You're not going to go to work anyway. Right. But when I have a 17-year-old that also still can't stay home alone and needs a babysitter, people are like, oh, you can't leave her alone. No, I can't leave her alone.
And this is your job. And I just love that is something that people can look into. I also think that if you're drowning right now and you're getting those calls from school, just the coaching that I do takes me back to those times. And you can look at us right now and go, you guys are laughing. You guys look like
we don't know it.
Because we are on top of the water swimming. Sorry, we scared you.
I'm not laughing.
This was not funny to me.
I'm just filing one thing after another.
Just keep it in there. Like tabs.
And this might not happen. This doesn't happen for everybody, but something will come up, whether it's birth mom, whether it's issues, whether it's hard conversations, whether it's, just some things that you didn't know culturally. Maybe you're an interracial family. I mean, these issues will be with us forever. It doesn't have to be like quite this extreme, but sometimes it is, and that's okay, and that's what we're talking about. It's just about saying yes to a child, but you didn't say yes to a child in a wheelchair, but you still have to bring those medical needs. And so what do we do, and how do we support each other? And so that's why I love the show. But I do go back to the times when I was drowning and I'm like, I can't do it, and God, why did he choose me on the most impatient person, and this anxiety that she is having is causing me to be angry, and like we'll never be in public again, you know, and you just feel like I don't know what to do. And I can't emphasize enough, like the next step, somebody just like threw me one lifeline, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to the doctor and say this, and I don't know where it's going to take us. And it took us to this person, and it took us to this, and then the eyes, and then the, you know, and all the things. And I'm like, I look back, I'm like, God, like you equipped me for this, and you've got this, and you love her more than I love her, and you love me. And I'm your daughter too. So you're going to bring this all together. And I want to encourage you, if you're just feeling so at the end of your rope, that we are here to say we know what that feels like, but there is help for you. There is the next step for you. And you're on the other side. You're about to get paid. And I mean, you're the most patient person I think everybody can tell. I also want to say one more thing. Thank you for coming on the show, but also Susan is a very, very talented person. Probably my most talented when it comes to designing things in crafts. Like, and I don't even like crafts, so for me to give you this compliment is big.
I know.
I went to a craft show to see you.
You did come see me at my craft show.
I know, and that gave me a little bit of hives, but I did it, and I learned a lot about crafts just in general. Okay. But she does gnomes. She doesn't do them anymore. But she also did this beautiful plate for us, and I just want you to do more.
I know you want me to do them for adoptive
we need to talk about it more.
We gotta
but
figure it out.
When she sent us this plate, it was something that I'm going to cry, because it was something that was so special to us and to our kids and the way they responded to it, because she designed our entire family, put it on this beautiful plate, so we're all like these people, right? But like, where can you buy that? Yeah. Where can you be like, I'd like 2 African Americans, 3 African Americans, and then and you just like took a picture of our family and designed this, and people that would come into our house would be like, oh my gosh, I love this. This is your family. And so I think it's really meaningful for those of us who have gone on this like different journey and have families that don't look like a Hallmark family. Yeah. You have designed such beautiful things. So we need to move into that.
I know we do need to do that.
I also want to say we're now wearing our Adoption Now shirts. Ooh.
I know, I got one. I was like, yes,
where's your camera? Are you sharing our camera? Okay. Okay, so this is super exciting. We have Adoption Now mugs. Yay. We have Adoption Now notebooks and pens. And so join Patreon so you can get the stuff and you can join us. You're going to have fun. Do you have anything
all the
you
resources.
Yeah, all the resources, yeah.
You need them.
Yes, all
Find
the
resources.
Your resources. Thank you for being a resource.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm glad I could.
Is there anything else you want to say about Patreon? No, she's like, that's it. I need a nap now.
I'm still kind of swirling over here. What is it?
Well, thank you so much
You're welcome. Thank you for having me on.
You'll come back.
Even
you'll come back.
I kept saying, I'm not an expert. She's like, you don't need to be. I just need to talk to you.
Yeah, you don't have to be an expert. And I think that I'm certainly not an expert. You're not an expert. But we talk about real things that we're learning.
Yeah.
You know,
every day.
And we don't have to know everything, but we know something.
It's like peer mentorship.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's just life experiences that you can pass along to somebody else, because every journey is so different. Every child is so different. And so if you can pull a little bit from the ADD and a little bit from here or there, or the certifications that you can get, it builds your own kind of toolbox as a mom. So it's great.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Susan, Jordan. And thank you for joining us. We will see you next episode.
The Adoption Now podcast has been telling adoption stories for nearly a decade, and now's the time to dig a little deeper. Looking for behind-the-scenes content, bonus time with the Fallon family, a network of hundreds of others in the adoption triad, and a chance to influence the content you hear on the show? Join the Patreon community at patreon.com/adoptionnow. Did you know that we also offer one-on-one coaching sessions? Let us help you navigate the early steps or support you post-placement by joining the interest list on our website. And did this episode make an impact on you? Don't forget to share some love. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Adoption Now. See you next episode.
At the end